Okay, episode 3 of chatting shit about the Sunrise Cup. I'm very excited about this and some of the lovely Pokemon we're discussing tonight. This is what I envisaged chatting shit to be. This is what chatting shit is all about. Joined by Liam, Jay, and Calum. How are we all, guys?
Mate, you good?
Thank you.
Cool. As Trudy said in the previous episode, when I ask people to pick Mons for this, I do ask people to make them a bit interesting. And the three guys who've joined today definitely have done that. So in for a treat tonight. And that means again that I have the least spicy pick, which is Ferrothorn. Now, I've just done a practice tournament, and I only ran 5 Mons because I wanted to see what I struggled to pick against. And I struggled to pick against a weird combination of Galarian Stunfisk, Mantine, and Skarmory. And there isn't much that beats that combination. And Ferrothorn does. There's other things, like Quagsire sort of does it. I mean, with anything that sort of beats Skarmory, you've got to watch out for the Brave Birds these days. But I feel like, I mean, no one throws Brave Bird to begin with, so as long as you let the first one through, you're unlikely to let a Brave Bird through. I was a bit concerned about the counter weakness, because there's a lot of good picks in this cup that are weak to counter. You know, we talk about Galarian Stunfisk, we talk about Abomasnow, even the counter users themselves, Vigoroth and Obstagoon are weak to counter as well. And the likelihood is that you're probably running 3 Mons. Most people's teams will have 3 Mons that are weak to counter. And some of the flyers don't even resist counter. You know, things like Skarmory, things like Articuno, which I'm enjoying, Noctowl, which, I mean, there'll be 1 or 2 out there. So I was a bit hesitant about having the counter weakness, but actually, a bit like Galarian Stunfisk, with the main, if we're assuming the main counter user here is going to be Vigoroth, which doesn't have Stab on counter, and it has Body Slam as the charge move. Vigoroth can't, you know, by the time you get the 1 Power Whip lead on Ferrothorn, you actually beat Vigoroth in the 0 shields. So fine, if Vigoroth wants to counter switch on me, that's fine. I'll take a shield advantage. Because there's, I feel like from the practice games I've done, there's a lot of things here that can do a lot of work with the shield advantage. Things like Mantine and Pelipper that are good sort of generalists here. Give one of them a shield advantage, you're going to be beating most things. Stunfisk, Galarian Stunfisk, again, similar sort of thing. So Ferrothorn, it seems to me like a really good Mon for countering, being a real niche, you know, a good neutral counter for a niche pair, a particular pairing that doesn't really have any other counters. That being the Water Flyer with Galarian Stunfisk, and in the bad matchups, which is, you know, your counter users, it can take a shield from that. So I mean, in a bad matchup, that's all you can ask for, really. So yeah, I quite like the look of Ferrothorn. What do you guys think?
Yeah. No, I think you're onto something. To be fair, it hits hard as well, and Bullet Seed's just a great move in it. The Snarl clone, so definitely viable, and you're gonna get to a move even if you do get locked in against, like you said, like a Vig or an Obstagoon. So you're gonna be doing damage or taking a shield. So
it is super spammy, so you're definitely gonna hit back.
Yeah, and that's important in this cup. I think the speed factor is important in this cup when you've got things like Abomasnow and Pelipper throwing weather balls. You've got Mud Boys throwing mud bombs and rock slides, and, you know, counter users throwing night slashes and body slams. It's important to be spammy here.
It's a spammy cup, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, and bulk's great. Bulk is fantastic, but bulk can only stand up to spam so much. I'm sure there's ridiculous ways that I'm sure Shadow Machamp can beat Azumarill in twos because of the spam. And Azumarill being one of the bulkiest mons there is. I mean, I know these aren't mons that are in this cup, but from a GBL example, spam can overcome bulk.
The lag helps as well.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Liam?
I quite like it because it's got the coverage to hit pretty much most of the flies in this cup for at least neutral damage. So having a grass like a Bomber Snow that can hit most of the flies for some good neutral or effective damage really gives it some nice coverage. And I think the Mud Boys are going to start to become more relevant once Marowak and the other fires start to become a bit more relevant. I think towards the back end of the cups, I think it's one of the Pokemon that's going to have good coverage throughout the whole month, because when certain things come in, it becomes strong against the other things. So I think it's a good all-rounder.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting point that you make about the fires, because I think the fires we're seeing are the weakest link in the current meta. Currently this exploits that as well. Like not every team will have a fire. I don't run a fire at the minute, and at that point, Ferrothorn's about as good a save such as you're going to get. And the moves it's got, even if it does run into a fire, Thunder will do 40% to a Marowak or something like that. And while that's not great, if you have two things in the back that are weak to fire and use Ferrothorn and your lead to sort of chip away at the fire, like if you were to run a double grass, for example, with Ferrothorn and the Bombers now, I mean that would be crazy versus the team that had a fire type, to be fair. But
can't be running Grass Hole in this cup. Come on.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I'll stop short on that one. But another thing I like on it, I mean, I spoke about Skarmory being an issue, and so Thunder is what I'll stick with. Another thing I like about it is the versatility it's got in its movesets. If you were looking at your own team and Skarmory wasn't an issue, let's say you had Zapdos on your team or an Emolga, and between that and Galarian Stunfisk, you're scaring the living daylights out of a Skarmory. So I personally would be quite comfortable that I wouldn't see the Skarmory. So in that instance, I might consider a Steel move to help out with the Abomasnow matchup over Thunder, because the water flyers, yeah, Thunder's nice for him, but you win with Power Whip unless they bait.
The grass it does enough.
Yeah, and I mean, Ice Beam from Mantine isn't going to hit particularly hard. I mean, Hurricane from Pelipper definitely does. But are you going for a bait there with Bubble Beam and Weather Ball? That's a risky bait. So I mean, you could always bank on that, and you can sort of fake bait as well. Like you can always do that extra one bullet seed to pretend you've got the Thunder, and then throw the Power Whip anyway to try and get the shield if you need it. So I'd be quite interested in running Mirror Shot or Flash Cannon. Mirror Shot's more reliable versus a Abomasnow, because if you get a Flash Cannon shielded, that's a lot of energy down the pan. Mirror Shot will chip away and adds to the spammy nature. Flash Cannon, if your team's looking very spammy, you've got no big moves to finish games with, Flash Cannon can help there. What I would say is Abomasnow beats both in 2 shields, so they'll be counting on it.
I mean, you never know, if you get several debuffs with the mirror shot.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's always a nice thing to have in the back pocket. Yeah. Any further thoughts?
Is it a bit risky with the amount of flying and the amount of fire that you could potentially see on the counter users, obviously?
I mean,
I think fire doesn't look like it's going to be an issue, does it?
not immediately.
Yeah, I can see AWAC coming a lot, as the month progresses.
Yeah, as the month goes on. As I say, counter. If we're certainly to begin with, if we're assuming Vigoroth is the main counter user, I'm quite happy taking the shield. I think it's a bit different against Obstagoon actually, because Obstagoon's got the old cross chop, and that being
to play against.
Yeah. Oh no, it still takes the shield versus Obstagoon. With the one power whip advantage, you still get to 2 power whips before it gets to 2 cross chops. So you still get that. You still get that advantage. You just come out on a little lower health, but at that point you're less farmable. So that might even be a good thing. But yeah, the flying types. Flying types are an issue, but with your coverage there, you've got things to hit back, and I think that's the trick. That's going to be the trick to this cup, in my experience that I've had so far in it. It's going to be not getting walled. So that's why I don't like Skarmory personally, because if I'm stuck with a Skarmory versus a Galarian Stunfisk, that's game over. So yeah, and Ferrothorn, apart from the fire types, doesn't have that issue versus anything really. So yeah. Right, should we move on then? Next up is Liam with the Pokemon that I used in Season 1 Regionals, and I haven't found an excuse to use it since, but if Liam can do a good job here, I'm quite excited for this.
I don't think I'm quite going to do the best job with it. I mean, it's the lowest ranked legendary bird that's not a legendary bird, which I just find annoying, because I want to call it legendary bird, but it's not, because it's the Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres nonsense.
It's a legendary bird, isn't it? It's a flying type, it's legendary. I'm fine with that.
So, to start off with, it's got some really positive
Just to be clear,
one.
it's Lugia. Not Ho-Ho.
Yeah.
the other useless one. It's got some really positive one shield matchups against some of the meta that we're quite likely to see. So I'll start off with a fun one. You can go straight Hydro Pump against Galarian Stunfisk and win in the ones. So you just don't need to debate at all. Just go straight for it. You can take Rock Slides. You're going to beat Vigoroth. You're going to completely, I'm not going to say wall Vigoroth, but you can win, I believe, all shields against Vigoroth.
I think you win that at a shield disadvantage as well.
Yeah, you do something mad against Vig. You'll beat a Bomber Snow because you can take a Weather Ball, whereas it can't take a Sky Attack. And then you'll beat Altaria in the one shield as well. So you're getting some really nice coverage out of it.
That's with Dragon Tail as its fast move.
No. So with Extra Sensory, it can be Altaria in the one shield.
Wow.
So that was another thing I was going to come on to a bit later. You can have the choice of Dragon Tail or Extra Sensory, and you still get some really good matchups. I think Dragon Tail does generate your energy a lot quicker, but Extra Sensory, nothing is really resisting it. The same with Dragon Tail. You've got both quite energy efficient moves.
I think they generate energy at the same pace.
Yeah,
Because I've used Lugia quite a bit, so I'm dead interested right now. Sorry.
That's right. I like the interest in it. You're going to lose to Obstagoon, which is a shame, but obviously you're going to be weak to the Night Slashes. So if you come up, so the dream scenario is to come up against him with Vigoroth, because you've got something that can completely wall that annoying little thing. You're not particularly going to want to use it as a safe swap. You do want it to grab a shield or to finish off with a hard hitting move, because absolutely nothing really in this cut wants to take a Hydro Pump. Certainly not something with that big a hit. behind it, and the sky attack is really nice as well. So you've got some really, really good coverage in there. And I think the Stunfisk matchup really helps because it's going to want to shield. So you can go for the bait, come out with a bit more energy from the match, but
How about that? That's risky.
yeah, exactly. But having the option to just go straight for it, you're going to get a double shield potentially coming with your counter user, and you've got a lot of energy coming out the back of it. On the face of it, it doesn't win a vast amount of matchups, but it does give you a sixth slot if you're looking to really cover the top currently of the meta. It gives you something that it will give your opponent something to think about, because like I said, they might not know in the one shield that you can quite take that win or take that extra shield. So I think it's a really, I don't want to say it's as spicy as the other ones we've got today, but it's an interesting one if you want to really test someone's knowledge of bringing something like that, because it will do some good damage at some of the top ones.
Yeah.
You can beat Mantine if you. I hate PV poke with the bubble beam shield, but you can beat Mantine if you don't shield the bubble beam. You shield the ice beam. So it's only really Skarmory out of the top ranked, I think, 8 or 9 Pokemon that you can't beat in the one shield, and that's a Skarmory. And I still think you could probably go straight Hydro Pump against that, and they're unlikely to shield because you're a flyer. So it gives you a good option, certainly against some of the top ones of this meta.
I noticed a lot of the matchups you've spoke about here are the one shields, and that makes me think that a really good partner for it would be a Victini, because Victini really excels in the one shield as well. It's sort of there's the ability to charge up to 2 V creates and throw back to back. The 2 shield scenario does not suit Victini at all, because you've got no defense left by the time you sort of come around to using taking the third charge move, and the 0 shields, things like Galarian Stunfisk, although it might be Galarian Stunfisk in the zeros. Well, maybe, I don't know. The ones is the scenario that I see that in my limited time practicing with Victini is the best for me. And I think if you've got 2 mons that are really strong in the one shields on the same line of 3, that could be a nice strategy to go for. If especially if you were to pair that with something like Vigoroth, for example, which has immense shield pressure, to try and nab a shield off something. That could be a nice little pair.
Yeah, I really do like the sound of that, because it definitely is a Pokemon that you're either going to come out of the matchup with energy, with health, or you are definitely going to take 1, possibly even 2 shields, because if you're a Stunfisk, you're not going to want to lose to a flyer like that. No. You're really not going to want to lose to a flyer in that manner.
Yeah, and the Hydro Pump is such a big deal. Like it's why I used it in regionals, because I wanted a flyer. I took Skarmory as well, but I wanted a flyer that I could hit Bastiodon with, and it doesn't do as much to a Bastiodon as it does to a G-Fisk, but it's the same principle. And yeah, you might not ever use it, but it's there as an option, and it gives you something no other flyers do. Well, apart from Mantine and Pelipper, but it's a nice double up option. It's the extra bulk it has over Pelipper, and it gives you a much more solid Vigoroth matchup. And Mantine can be sketchy versus Vigoroth, because it's all about shielding bubble beams for Mantine, isn't it? It's high risk, so depending on the situation, it might come out on top. Cal, Jay, any thoughts on Lugia?
Yeah, I wish I had one.
So I remember trying to get one, and it took like 10 trades over like 2 months trying to get it under 1500. It was a pain in the ass.
I got very lucky. I've got a shiny below 1500.
Very nice.
Well,
Of course you do. Why
I
wouldn't
mean,
I mean, it's crap IVs, but it's a shiny.
yeah, no, I really like Lugia, and in general, it's one of my favorite Pokemon. So, yeah, no, I haven't looked at it at all for this meta, so I'm quite happy that it's been brought up because, like the Altaria matchup, stuff like that, the G-Fix, being able to go straight Hydro Pump, like, you know, yeah, because he's bulky. He's a bulky bird, as Lugia, so
Yeah.
It's a great big tank with wings.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like it.
You said you've used it before a fair bit, Jay. Have you?
Yeah.
Do you tend to have a favoured fast move on it?
I use Dragon Tail because I think you get the better Altaria matchup. But I have used it with Exocentury. I'm trying to think of what cup it was. It was a recent one, but I can't remember the name of the cup. But I don't know. Piercing. I mean, obviously you get the stab on Exocentury because it's Psychic type. But I think with Altaria, depending on how popular it is, Dragon Tail is just a safer matchup for you.
Yeah.
I think you pick up Obstagoon with Dragon Tail as well, I think.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
No resistance.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few Psychic types. I mean, I know it's maybe not like, you know, what you've got.
Victini.
Victini, Executor. Might not see like that, but obviously there are other Psychic types out there, and interesting.
Yeah, but I think as Cal said, I think the potential for Obstagoon is quite a big one. I mean, don't know how many Obstagoon we'll see. I quite like it personally, despite having said less than a week ago that I can't see a reason to run Obstagoon. I now quite like it for the fact that it doubles up as a it tends to double up as a fire counter because of what the fire types are through the Psychic or Ghost on the whole. So depending on how you build your team, I now see reasons to run Obstagoon. I still don't think it's anywhere near as good as Vigoroth, but I now see it. So I could see the Obstagoon matchup being handy maybe later on in the month. But yeah, why risk it? Personally, I'd run Dragon Tail. Any
sim shows you come out with 2 HP, so it's not exactly brilliant, but it's a win.
Well, that's it. It's a win, and it's better to come out with 2 HP than 20 because you get farmed less.
You can't get farmed, yeah.
That's it. Any potential teammates you thought for it to eat, or not that far, or?
I did quite like, because obviously a lot of this cup I think is going to be double, triple flyers. I did quite like it with Pelipper because you've got sort of the flip. You've got the Sky Attack from Lugia being quicker, and then you got your Weather Ball from the Pelipper being quicker, and you got the Hurricane being slower, and you got the Hydro Pump being slower. So just having those two options, if you go quick water, quick flying move, I think could cause some real issues to opponents.
Yeah, I like that, and I think what's nice about that is one of Pelipper's biggest issues is a Bomber Snow, and if Lugia has similar play but can pick up a Bomber Snow, that could be quite handy actually. Yeah, good shout. Okay, so Jay, really out there pick, something I've seen a lot in Ultra GBL, but not ever in Great League. Zangoose.
I know. That's what I thought when I said I'll talk about it. Yeah. So, you know, number 53 overall, so it's not terrible. Its moveset's pretty good. It's got Shadow Claw, so obviously generate pretty spammy, with Night Slash and Close Camber for hard hitting move. Obviously normal typing, so it's a bit annoying because obviously everyone's going to have the Vig or the Galarian Obstagoon guy on their team. So as long as you don't get them stuck against it, you should be okay. But other than that, it actually does pretty well, as long as like it's even shields. If you're at a shield deficit, you're pretty much, it's hopeless. If you get a shield advantage, then you are literally in an unbelievable position. Like some of the sims with like energy advantage, like just like a shadow claw advantage or like a shield advantage, it bumps the wins up like ridiculously. I mean, some of it is bait dependent, trying to get that night flash bait before you get close combat, but to be fair, a lot of the times you can probably go just straight double close combat. So for stuff like G-Fisk or like Ferrothorn, rather than trying to like take the risk of a bait, you just charge up for your 2 close combats and just fire away. Depending on the situation, obviously, if you need to bail out, but it's definitely not a Pokemon to lead. Like, you can't, it's just, but then obviously with Vigoroth, if you've got Zangoose as your safe switch and the opponent's got Vigoroth as theirs, it's just sort of GG's there. Unless you manage to land your close combat, which probably not, because you're pretty squishy. And if it's a switch in, the shields are going to be there and no one's going to fall for that. But if you keep it away from the counter users, it's got some really good wins, like G-Fisk, Ferrothorn, Victini, Lugia, Shadow Articuno, and it only just loses against normal Articuno, but if you get, I think it's 1 Shadow Claw advantage, you win. 2, you definitely win. Beats Driftblim. Very close with Skarmory, Whiscash, and Altaria. Again, that's like if you're switching in and you get a Shadow Claw advantage, that ends up being a win. Just straight Night Slash. So yeah, and then you have to land the close combat on the Cash and the Skarmory. But obviously you got your bait move with Night Flash, and if you get the boost, which that's the thing, I think, that you're hoping that you get the boost, and then you should be golden. If you've got shields, it'll just tear through teams.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned about having to land the close combat versus Whiscash and Skarmory there, but they're like about as bulky as Pokemon Company in this cup, and they're not. I feel like they're probably not going to shield the first one, knowing that A, it might be a bait, and B, even if it's not, they can take one.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of mind games there.
But I think with that as well, it's like if you get the boost, they're going to shield the next one, so you can double bait almost.
Yeah,
and then then it's just a case of you're either going to take both the shields or you'll take the shield advantage.
Yeah, sure. What do you guys think, Liam, Cal? What do you reckon?
Well, having Shadow Claw is a plus, isn't it? Because you're just going to charge rapid. And even Night Slash alone hurts, doesn't it? Nothing really wants to take a Night Slash. So, and nothing at all wants to take a close combat.
Yeah, close combat is just one of them moves.
To be fair, the ones that want to take a close combat, they don't want to take the Night Slash or the Shadow Claw, so...
Even Vig and Goon, if shields are down, they're just gone on the other close
game.
combat.
Yeah, that's right. I think it is definitely a switch, but it depends. You're going to have to cover it because of Vig. But as a closer, if you get that any kind of shield or energy advantage with it, it gets like 220 wins with like a Shadow Claw advantage, which is like 83% of the meta. So
I think the thing I really like about it is, so if we think back to Sorcerer's Cup, which feels like a long time ago now, we saw like a lot of lickers were popular there. We had Munchlax, Licky Tongue, Licky, and in my opinion, the best one was Licky Tongue because it could go, it could beat Frostlass with power, but it didn't have to mess about baiting with body slams like Munchlax and Licky. It had that the fast move that could go straight through and meet the ghosts, and in this meta you've got a similar sort of thing but with Marowak, and of the sort of normals that have a ghost or a dark fast move, I think I'm right in saying it's the only one that's got a super effective move versus the ghosts. So something like
but Hex on on Castform.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got the sorry, I meant the night slash.
Sorry, charge me. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's not. It doesn't have to mess around either baiting body slams or whatever. It can go straight with those moves. And things like Munchlax, they have Bulldoze, which is the with super effective versus Marowak, which is great. But what
you got to get there?
Well, yeah, that. And what if you're against Drifblim?
Yeah.
And I think Drifblim's got some serious play here because of how good Vigoroth is. I think Nick talked about Drifblim in episode 1, and he gave a real good defense of it, I think. So yeah, I can see less Drifblim than Marowak, but certainly some. So I think it's got that niche over the other sort of ghosty normal types, and that could be a way of gaining a bit of energy actually as well. If you came out of that matchup with say you 2 or 3 Shadow Claws worth of energy extra, all of a sudden you're beating Marowak and the next thing. So it's got a really high ceiling on it. So
yeah. I said there's just, as long as you stay away from them counter users, and there's a couple of like random grasses as well, but it's,
I guess, like really bulky grasses like Meganium and stuff that we're just not going to see.
Yeah, and like the odd Razor Leafer.
I think it's going to take a bold person to bring a Razor Leafer in this cup.
yeah. It's losses. It's got a couple of like it's got Mantine, Bomber Snow, and like they're like the main, of the top meta losses that are like pretty much clear losses. But the rest of them are just really niche picks. And I know obviously Zangoose is a very niche pick. But a lot of them you're just looking at going, who's going to pick Gligar? For example, it's like, who's going to pick Whimsicott and Vileplume? So
yeah, fair. Liam, you got any thoughts
definitely.
Oh, go on.
So I was just going to say, I think it's going to be a fun Pokemon to use more than it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I counter that with it being a stressful Pokemon for someone like me. I always panic and stress when I've got to. I know I've either got to get the energy lead or I know I've got to save a shield for it. It's why I'm just dreadful with a Haunter. But I know how good Haunter and Gengar can be, but I just know I've either got to get that energy or get that shield. So I completely see his play. I think it'd be very, very good. And for someone like me, if I'm stressing around trying to get it into a good situation or getting it into a good tactic or position, I either forget my tactic midway through a battle or I just switch it in stupidly knowing that I shouldn't be switching it in. So I completely see its play, but for just someone like me, I just panic when I have to use these sort of glassy Pokemons.
Just bench pressure, lad. That's all you need. Just pick it.
So I can sympathise with you there, Twiggy, because I spoke about Altaria last episode, and we touched on earlier about how important it is to be spamming in this cup, and I thought Altaria is a little bit slow, so I thought, let's try out Shadow Dragonite instead. Like, surely it'll do the same things, and Shadow Dragonite is exactly the same. It's amazing with 2 shields, but the moment you forget that and you use a shield on something else, Dragonite becomes dead weight. And I think it's a good point you make. You've got to be hyper aware that you are running Zangoose when you are running Zangoose.
It's more of a case of if you've taken shields off them, get Zangoose in. Like that seems to be more the kind of play. It's like if you put shield pressure on early on, like don't mess around, don't let them farm up, just get Zangoose in. If you've got a shield advantage, get it in there, get energy advantage with your shield advantage, and then just see what happens from there. Hopefully then have Vigoroth.
Sure.
Or land the close combat.
Yeah, and that's it. And that is the risk reward is very high on
Yeah, and it's funny, I have used it a couple of times. I've used it in one of the gym metas, and like, I don't think I've ever got a boost on Night Slash so much in my life. Like, I think I was against the Ace Trainer Will on one game, and I think I got like a boost every game with it. And then I think in one game I got it twice, like back to back, and I was just like, I'm really sorry. Just like, it feels so dirty, but it was great.
Well, Cal's pick is another normal type with a ghost fast move, but on the complete opposite end of the bulk spectrum. And Castforms are useful, generally speaking, like bulky and spammy, but I've never ever heard a case for Castform normal being used ever before. So I'm looking forward to this.
I was trying to think of a way to introduce it, and the only way I can do is to describe it as just super annoying. It just hits normal weather balls for days. 3 hexes to a weather ball. You just keep bouncing them out. I think it just outspams everything. It's only 6 to a hurricane. It has some pretty niche wins. Bomber Snow, Swampert, Whiscash, Zapdos, AWAC, Driftblim, Emolga, the Unova Fisk. It's got some pretty interesting wins. So I come across it with just having a hole in my team. Mantine's left with 2 HP left. So, and then I think it beats Pelipper as well. So, yeah, it has quite a lot of decent wins against quite a lot of meta. So.
Yeah, I think what you say about, you came across it when you just found a hole in your team and it just filled it. It's actually popped up for me as well on my radar for the same reasons. I was trying to find another thing that covered the water flyers and Zapdos and Emolga. Because I was a bit concerned about running Altaria with all the G-Fisks about and the Bomber Snows and that sort of stuff. So I wanted one that wasn't weak to ice, and Castform came up, and it does a job. My only concern with it, or my main concern is sort of on the opposite spectrum of the point that I made about Night Slash with Zangoose and Marowak. Is Hurricane strong enough to power through a Marowak?
Beats a Marowak in the ones.
Right, okay, fair enough.
Same with Driftblim as well. I think it's just a Hex and the Hurricane, because you're not taking anything from Shadow Ball, and it's got the bulk to just outlive the Bone Gloves. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Have you practiced with it at all, or is it just?
I've done a few with it. Yeah. If you can hex something down at the end, then you can come out with a load of weather balls. So you can just keep throwing them. Just keep going.
Is that a situation you find yourself in often, or?
In the right situation, if you've got something left on the opposing team with a bit left, you can just hex it down. Yeah. It's just Castform doing Castform things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Legendary bulk, legendary spam, and you just keep going.
Yeah, and I guess even if something's just out of hex range, like it's not the worst thing in the world to use a shield to hex it down, because if you're coming out with 80 energy on the back of using that one shield, then you're going to get that shield back. So
it's surprising how much a normal weather ball does as well to something like a Swampert or something. It does a nice chunk, especially when you get to them so quickly.
Yeah,
not much outspans stuff like Swampert.
Yeah, that's
easily
true.
outpaced it.
Does it? I know you said it melts to counter, which is obviously an issue, but I imagine it outspams the counter users as well. So it's not, you're not going down without a fight.
But yeah, they're just obvious losses. You lose quite hard to Vigoroth.
Jay, what do you reckon? Is it a rival to Zangoose?
It's interesting. Zangoose beat it, so it's not a rival, is it? So. But I mean, I don't know. Just the spamminess of it. It's always, if something's spammy, it's always gonna annoy people, and you might just force shield when people don't need the shield, just because of how spammy it is. And obviously, like, Hurricane, even though it hasn't got stab, it's still a good move, Hurricane. So it's gonna hit a lot of the meta really hard. Obviously, you just don't want to get stuck in front of like G-Fisk, because it just resists everything. But pretty much.
So when it came up for me, I had a look at its moves to see whether there was anything other.
It's got Energy Ball as well, hasn't it?
That's it. It's got Energy Ball. I don't think it. I mean, it doesn't switch the G-Fisk matchup. It doesn't flip the G-Fisk matchup, or even close to it. But if you're not concerned about Marowak or Drifblim, which you may or may not be, I don't know. Depends on the rest of your team, I guess. If you're not, I'd be tempted to run Energy Ball over the Hurricane, so I'm not stuck against G-Fisk, so I'm not completely walled. I mean, off the top of your head, Cal, were there any matchups that the Hurricane was like essential for? I mean, other than Marowak,
I didn't even entertain Energy Ball, to be honest with you, so it was just straight Hurricane with me.
Fair enough. Liam, are you any more sold on this now? Now it's less shield dependent than Zangoose. Have we swayed you here?
Yeah, I'd never even thought normal types were any use in this cup apart from if they had counter. I thought that was the only reason they were in this cup. So it's nice to see uses for them. And normal Castform just annoys me because what's a normal weather ball? When is weather ever normal? Like, what's this? It's just little things like that just annoy me. Just why?
Imagine if you lost to one.
Just get hit with a normal weather ball. Depends what country you're in. No, I really, really, really like the Hex. I think getting into Hurricane so quickly, and Pelipper with Hurricane's just annoying anyway. But it certainly doesn't get there as quick as that. So I think, and knowing how devastating Hurricane could be, and again, we've all come with really good 6th choice mons if you've got gaps, and they've all got really good places, and I think Castform really does look quite good. Certainly knowing that you can get to such a big move so quick.
Yeah.
And certainly when you can just spam as hard as you can spam.
Yeah. Have you run it with Pelipper and Bombsnow yet, Cal? That triple weather ball?
I haven't run it with Pelipper. I have been running it with Manseed.
Fair.
Because I wasn't a big Pelipper fan.
Right. Sorry?
I need to give the Pelipper a go, really.
Fair. I just think something that the spam that you're getting from on weather ball, like we spoke about, with Zangoose, the importance of forcing a shield sometime or putting shield pressure on. The options having 3 weather ball users would give you in terms of putting shield pressure on your opponent could be quite handy if you were to run it with something like a Skarmory, which I mean, apart from G-Fisk, if you give it a shield advantage, can run through things, or Altaria can run through things, or G-Fisk can run through things, or something with a slightly heavier charge move. Struggling to think of one off the top of my head, but
Hydro Cannon. Swampert.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Swampert likes the shield, doesn't it? Yeah, I think any amount of spam is very good, and as far as I can tell, the Castform is the fastest normal spam out there, isn't it? Really. And I know you had a quick mention of Galarian Lanoon as well. How does that record?
Well, that's a Snarl body slam, isn't it?
Yeah. What makes you prefer Castform to Galarian Lanoon, Cal?
I think it's a little bit quicker, I think. But then they both don't really like counter, do they? And I think just having the Hurricane, if you hit things like a Bomb Snova, Hurricane, it doesn't like you have a better option as a second fast move, I think, than the Galarian Linoon.
Yeah.
What's the Linoon learn? It's Gong Shot is the other move, is it? And something else, I don't know.
I think it gets Dig.
It's get Dig, isn't it?
But I mean, that's just awful, isn't it?
Snow
I think
is recommended.
I think Linoon beats Galarian Linoon beats it, I think.
I would have thought so, because the normal Dark, those hexes are going to be doing 0, whereas the Snarls will probably do a bit more. So your fast move damage is going to be output, but your fast move damage is going to be twice as hard. But I can't ever envisage a scenario where we're going to end up with Castform versus Galarian Linoon. I mean, they're both so niche that to have two of them on opposing teams, the chances of that must be incredible. But it loses hard enough to the other novels, doesn't it? To Obstagoon and Vigoroth. So
yeah,
it's the similar sort of concept, I guess. Grand. Well, let's leave it there then.
Can I just
go on then.
One last thing? Are you allowed to run double Castform?
You're allowed to run as many Castforms as you want.
So you could go quad Weather Ball users and get the full spectrum.
You could.
Because wouldn't Sunny Castform be really good against the things that normal Castform isn't very good against?
Such as?
Well, your Stunfisk that's going to shout straight away.
But it's dealing super effective against each other, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I suppose and I think Stunfisk out spams it. Yeah, I guess.
I'm just running a sim now.
I think G-Fist beats Sunny in the ones, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to double shield, and I think most of the fires versus G-Fisk you have to double shield to win. And I think if you're going to use a fire like that, I think there's better options. I think I really like Shadow Charizard if you're going to play a fire that way, because with it resisting the mud shots, you're coming out with so much health, and if you're not getting a shield back with a Shadow Charizard with the threat of an overheat or a blast burn, depending on whether you want to spend the elite charge TM or not, then you're never getting the shield back. Or something like Arcanine, which can Fire Fang through the G-Fisk and then have wild charges. If you're expecting a Pelipper or a Mantine to come in. So I think the way fire types play, you perhaps want something with a bit more. I feel like you have to commit 2 shields to the fire types. So I think that the fire Castform is a bit different in that respect. But
it's just because Ember's just such a poor move, isn't it?
Yeah. If it hit a little bit harder or charged a little bit faster, it'd be perfect. But it finds itself in that sort of no man's land, really. Grand. Well, yeah. Let's leave it there then. Thank you all very much. Jay, Cal, I'm expecting, or at least hoping, to see to come up against one of you this month with the Zangoose and the Castform. Twiggy less so, given that you haven't got a Lugia. But
I don't have a Lugia, no chance of getting one.
I'll use Lugia for you, lad. Don't worry about it.
Does that mean
I'm not building the Zangoose. Come on.
It's alright. I'll do it all for all of us. Okay. I'll take the hit for the team.
Go on, that's what we like. Nice one. Well, thank you all for joining, and catch you all later.
Nice one for having us. See you later.
See you in a bit.
Cheers.